to old business, which are the acceptance of the previous minutes, which are February 12, 2024, March 11, 2024, and August 12, 2024. Do we have any comments on those?
I have reviewed them, and I'd make a motion to all three.
We have a motion to approve all three. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now on to regular business. We have a variance request by EPW LLC from the Newmarket Town Code Section 32-89 Dimensions Table to permit 3 additional housing units on real property located at 60 Exeter Road, Building 300, Tax Map U4, Lot 11-3, in the M2A zoning district. Right now, just for declaration's sake, my wife is a patient of Dr. No, so if he has no objections, I'll sit in on this. I can guarantee I can render an impartial decision on this, but you're entitled to at least 3 members on the board, so if I recuse myself, you haven't lost anything. Full board is 5, so you, obviously the more members you have on board, the better your chance of getting something passed. But I thought it'd be upfront. Yeah.
Just so you're aware, you need 3 like votes for a motion to pass. So it's not a, in this case, it's not a 50-50 majority, you have to have like votes, so. Okay.
With that, I'll turn it over to the presenters.
I'm sorry, are you recusing yourself or not?
I asked if he wanted.
Oh, okay.
Hey, good, how are you?
They should be. Yeah, the light's on.
Good to see you guys again. My name is Josh Manzetta. I'm the attorney at Case on Ruby. You have the unfortunate, it's a little unfortunate, you've seen me now for 2 months in a row, so hopefully I'm not back in October. I'm here this evening representing EPW LLC in relation to the variance application that the chair just read into the record. We got the tech to work today. I believe I have to go over and actually scroll, so I'll try to scroll through the slides and then come back to the mic. I think everyone can probably hear me regardless. Unless you want me to, yeah, I might be able to. I'm not much of a singer, but I kind of feel like when holding the mic like this. Okay, so I'm going to just take everyone through a very, very brief, I have 4 slides for you tonight, just to get everyone acquainted with the property. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. It's kind of that grassy knoll that everyone drives by. It's lot U4, or map U4, lot 11-3 for the record. And it's in the M2A zone. So I'll take you through just 2 overhead slides, and then we have a plan that just shows you, really just want to show you the boundary from your tax map. And then I'll go through the variance criteria quickly. You might notice that this application came in on John Bozen's letterhead. I'm kind of pinch hitting tonight. Actually sold his firm and went to DTC lawyers, and so they were conflicted out because they represent the town. So I'm here in his stead, and hopefully I can do as good a job as John. He's been a mentor of mine for quite some time, probably 15 years. Okay, so okay, great. So we'll quickly go through a couple of aerials. This and these images were taken today, so they're the most current that I could get online, and that's intentional. This is just Google Earth, and the property is somewhat triangular, and I'll show you that on the tax map momentarily, but generally, big blue arrow, this is the property. You might be familiar with this project in town, site plan review, I believe, and it's slated for development in this area and for 28 residential units. We're talking about this building back here where Dr. No's pain specialty or pain clinic is. Okay,
Just for clarification, is that the old Wentworth Ready?
Yes, so that's a good point, and I was going to get there. So the building that is currently on site was owned by Wentworth Douglas, and Dr. No bought that recently this year in March. That building is 3 stories, including the basement, and the basement and the first floor are now used for the pain clinic. We're talking this evening about adding density, residential density, to the 3rd floor with 3 units. So just kind of jumping back to the aerials, just to be able to see the shape of the lot from your tax map, you can see it's a bit triangular. And again, the structure that we're talking about is kind of on the back of the lot here, and some of the new structures that are slated for development and are not currently being developed are on the front of the lot. And I just threw this in so you can kind of see the proposed plan for the 2nd story. This, again, isn't a building, and this 2nd level is currently not utilized, and it's my understanding that it was not used by Wentworth Douglas, and it's been utilized since the building's inception. So with that, I'm going to just scroll back here and leave this up. So what the heck are we asking for? What's happened on this lot is that there's a condominium association, and there's a density restriction. There's 28 units that were approved for the Cheney Company, 28 residential units. Those are approved for a new building towards the street on the front of the lot. Because of that approval, we're here looking for a variance to add 3 more units of residential density. Originally, it's likely, I wasn't part of the permitting, maybe no one here was, this was slated as a commercial structure. Since commercial space is really very difficult to use. It's difficult to rent. It really doesn't make sense in this location for that 2nd story, given the practice, to be used for the practice. And I believe it's been hard for both Wentworth Douglas and Dr. No to fill that space. So we're here asking to augment the density overall in this lot. Now, there is an association that approved added density on second stories and up in the association. So this has been approved by all of the abutters that are part of this project. It's my yep.
Wait a clarification. Are we looking to add density to the 3rd floor or the 2nd and 3rd floor?
It's the second floor. So there's a basement level,
Okay.
a 1st story, and then a 2nd story. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Art.
Okay.
So 3 stories total, but it's the basement and 1st story that are used
That's where I get
currently.
confused.
Yeah, so it's technically the 2nd floor, 3 proposed for 3 units. So it's a very small amount of added density in a lot that has already been approved for 28 residential units. It's highly reasonable to add this to this particular structure in this particular location. It's a big lot, it's 4.8 acres. And it's my understanding that, and I can't speak for Cheney nor will I, but it's my understanding that that construction is currently delayed and may be somewhat stymied from a financial, for financial purposes. So it's unknown when the front of this lot is going to be developed, if ever, at this moment. And Dave, you could correct me if anything's coming to the building department today, but that's just what I've heard.
They've sent me some preliminary plans to review.
Yeah.
That's all that's come through.
So essentially with this structure, we're with this indefinite time frame of there's more density on this lot, which is preclusive for adding any sort of residential use existing structure. So it's really quite underutilized. And it's, I think, very reasonable to add just 3 units to this. So John addressed the variance criteria, and he did that well in the application. I'm sure you've read that already. I'll take us through really fast, and you've heard my spiel about this before. The first 2, and I think arguably the first 3 criteria, are often taken by the courts at the same time. They're looked at very similarly. And here, we just want to understand if the public interest is served by either upholding the ordinance or granting the variance. if the spirit of the and intent of the ordinance is upheld. And what I often recommend is to look to the timbre of the existing neighborhood and the existing use on the property. Here, we have commercial use, and we have approved residential use. We're not asking for something that's outside what's already approved on this property. We're asking to add only 3 units to an existing structure. We're not asking to go outside that building envelope, and it allows the property owner here, Dr. No, to utilize the entire structure in a very positive way for the community. So arguably, it's, when you look at your preamble, and we're trying to deal with the general welfare and the safety of the residents of Newmarket in New Hampshire, we're not affecting that in any negative way. We're actually creating a positive use on this property that allows a few more residential units when really I think Newmarket needs those units at this point. Since COVID, it's been very difficult to fill commercial space. And here, where we have mixed use already happening on this property, it's very, and it does fulfill the mandate of the preamble in your ordinance. Number 4, the area, we always talk about valuation. And what we have to look at is, are we going to devalue this property in any way? I think it's very clear that we're not in this case. And we all know that if you improve a property in any way, that when you take a comp appraisal or any sort of appraisal, that value almost always goes up. Because
In reading that, is it my understanding that that second floor has never been occupied?
that is my understanding. I can ask.
Yeah,
Yeah, come on to the mic. So this is Dr. No, the applicant.
I want to thank everybody for giving us an opportunity to present. I'm Dr. On No. I'm the owner of the company that EPW that's listed for that owns the property. EPW stands for the first initials of my 3 boys, so just to give context, Ethan, Preston, Winston. So that the second floor is actually an empty shell. Part of it right outside the lobby of the elevator is carpeted. Wentworth Douglas did used to just use that carpeted area just to meet, to have meetings, but there's no AC. I think there's just a heater upstairs to make sure that the building doesn't freeze in the winter, but it's very uncomfortable to use. It's not really usable at this time.
Basically, that second floor is a blank slate.
It's a blank slate, correct, sir? Yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
Sorry for the interruption.
No, absolutely. So getting back to improving the second floor, ostensibly would increase the value of this property. So I think when you're looking at diminution of property value, it would reasonably say that we would diminish the property value here. I think that any addition here would increase the property value. And again, it's in line with the timbre of the neighborhood in this actual property. Getting down to the 5th criteria, so the hardship criteria. We talked about this a lot last time, and I hope that was somewhat helpful. But here, we've got a large lot with a previously approved residential density. That approval essentially removes the ability to add units by right, which is why we're looking for this variance. That approval went through the planning process and really is separate from what we're talking about here. Really, what we're talking about is being able to add these units because it's reasonable. And it would be relatively unjust, in my opinion, to prevent this. But here we have a use that is permitted. It's already permitted on this property, and prohibiting this particular owner from doing this in this particular location would be unnecessary. It's not going to burden this property or the public in any way. It's actually, I think, boon positive or a net positive for the public by adding more units. And these are units that are going to get added now in real time. So they'll be available for rent in Newmarket. So it's a highly reasonable proposal. it'll go through the planning process, but the building, these units, that second floor, when it was approved for commercial use, has 11 parking spots. And where 6 for 3 units, likely, under the ordinance, 6 would be required. So the parking is already there for this, and the structure is not changing as far as the envelope goes. It's just being built out on that 3rd floor. So it's a highly use, and it really would be unnecessary to stymie this growth in Newmarket because it doesn't negatively impact anyone, in my opinion. So that's the meat and potatoes of our presentation. I'm happy to answer
So
questions.
how many units commercial units were on the 2nd floor? Or was it
There are
broken?
none. It's just the blank shell.
I understand that, but when it was proposed to the planning board and approved.
You know, I don't know the answer to that. Let me ask. I think Chris might know.
My understanding, Mr. Chairman, is it was all approved second floor office space.
So basically, all we're looking to do is, my simple vision, is swap some office space for some residential.
That's all it is, right? And I guess, and I have not been in the 2nd floor, but so we're talking, I guess, interior insulated partitions per the building code, and other than that, it's already the structure.
I've got some people out in the audience. I'd like to open it up to, if you're done your presentation,
Yes, we are.
I'd like to open it up to public comment. Anybody that's out in the audience that wants to, and you can continue. If you still have more points to make, please feel free to continue. But I want to give the audience a chance to speak their piece. Anybody got anything?
Yeah.
State your name for the record, please.
Castor, 21 Maple Street. I have bought that property. When this whole thing was designed, it was designed as an office park only, no residential. Now they're adding residential to the front part of that. There's still one empty lot beside that building. What happens to that area there?
Which lot next to it? I mean,
It was originally designed for 3 buildings in that upper area. So right now there's an empty one that Cheney has trucks and stuff parked on.
So that,
help Mr. Chair with that. Is it this part that you're back there?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, did you pass it out, Chris? Yes. Yeah, okay, so on the map that was passed out, labeled D44417.
yeah.
Okay, so you have to hold it,
Oh, yes.
yeah. So, okay, great, here we go.
Okay.
Thanks. So,
Do you have a copy of that?
right up here, this triangle, I believe in the original site plan, I have not looked at this and I did not look at that application, but I believe that this is approved for an office or some sort of structure at some indefinite time.
And the units in that are in the overall limitations for the condominium association?
They would be, it's my understanding that they would be, yes. But I can't make any presentations. I don't know what the plan for it is, and honestly, I don't know who owns it.
I can comment on that.
Sure.
Because I've been in touch with the owner of that condominium space that's unbuilt, that's Cheney as well, Walter Cheney. He currently has it listed on his website for sale.
Right.
So,
But as sale as what?
so as part of the condominium association, when we met as a group, again, it's slated for office space.
And one of the, and I could put that up if you'd like me to, we need the HDMI, but the condo association did approve within the association. Now, that doesn't mean that it's that the town approves it, it's just that the condo association is now willing, they've amended their documents, their bylaw and their declaration to allow residential space on the 2nd floor of their structures. Now, whether or not that, if someone wanted to do that in that location, though, they would be coming back to likely this board first to
So
seek
the
relief.
zoning on that lot does not change, it's still a business lot.
Yes, nothing about this application would affect that lot in any way. This is just adding 3 residential units over the existing structure as built. And I just want to answer your question. I'll pass it down to
No, that's fine. That was my question.
Anybody else have any comments? Anybody else have anything to present to the board?
Mr. Chair, I have one more, just one more
Absolutely.
quick point.
What was yours?
So I think the other thing to consider here is that one of the mandates from the state government in the last, especially in the last 4 years, but really, I would say in the last decade, they've been working towards more residential, more mixed use. And we talked about this briefly the last time I was here, but this is the sort of location that's perfect for mixed use. And it's possible that the city's regulations haven't caught up to that yet, but there is a mandate, and you see it with all the new ADU laws, where the state has really tried. You see it with the Housing Board of Appeals by the formation of that, formation of the new docket for land use to get through court quicker, that there really is a mandate to try to add more residential housing. And I think that when you look at the preamble, that's the argument that I'm making is that we're satisfying the intent of the ordinance by providing more mixed use. It would be unnecessary to stymie that growth, especially considering right now this is before the town. The other development is not happening right now as we understand it, for either that piece, the triangle there, or the front piece that's been pre-approved. So I do think it really does follow or directly with the intent of the ordinance in this particular zone. So, and
Seems
that's,
that every developer that comes in here for a variance seems to try and rub our nose into it. And we're well aware that there's a need for housing, and I think we've really worked to accommodate that in town. So
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
appreciate what you're saying.
yep.
If I just may, for those that don't, the ADU stands for accessory dwelling.
Yeah, and that's not what and that's,
Right, it's
yeah,
not-
very clearly, we're not doing
Right.
ADUs here tonight.
Just clarifying for
Yep,
anybody else
absolutely,
listening.
absolutely. Okay, great, thank you.
You're quite welcome.
I'm Art Guadano. I was the architect for the original building, and I'm helping Dr. No with this renovation as well. The space has been vacant for the entire time on the second floor, just to reiterate that point. But I also wanted to add to what Josh was saying about the location. It fits within the concept of the master plan in terms of adding residential units in the downtown area as well. It's close enough to walk to downtown, increases the density, and it is in accordance with what the town has been trying to do. So I wanted to add that as well.
Thank you. Did I close the public input session? We should close the public input session, so, and then we can open up for discussion amongst ourselves. Any thoughts?
I took a ride up there today, and it just seems like such a natural place to have a residence. I mean, it's great parking, plenty of space. It's a shame to look up on the second floor and see all the junk in the windows. And at least from my perspective, it meets all the criteria manyfold. I think it's just a perfect solution.
Just to go back, Wayne and I have a little bit of history with this, because we were on the board when Walter came in the first time around, and we rejected him because it flew completely in the face of what that specific zone was about, and he petitioned the town to get the zoning amended, and that's when he passed, when it went through and he got his units. But so, as far as I'm concerned, it's a perfectly compatible use for what we're looking at. I think if we were to look at it closely, as far as habitable square footage, we've probably got a better use out of it as residential, less impact on utilities and things like that. So I think that would probably work, from my point of view.
I think, I don't have any problem with it. It's suitable. The only thing I would say is that we make sure that it's understood that this does not reflect on the triangular undeveloped lot, that that doesn't mean that they can put residential there.
Yeah, so Wayne, this is tied directly to this building in particular.
Okay,
So this building has its own lot number, the other building has a separate lot number.
Okay.
So this request is tied to this particular building with this particular lot number.
all right,
So it would not apply to anything else on that lot.
okay.
And I think in addition to that, at least my support is coming from the fact the building is already built.
Yes.
I mean, it's there. Were someone to come forward on that lot with an unbuilt building, that's a whole different discussion.
As long as it's not tied together, then, okay.
Just for my curiosity, is there a price point on the rentals in those units? Have you thought that far ahead?
Mr. Chairman, I have not thought that far ahead.
Oh, are you looking for a place?
It might be, it's time to get retarded, you know?
But I can tell you, Mr. Chairman, from the lines that Mr. Art Guadagno here is doing, I think they're going to be very nice units.
Good.
Yeah.
It's almost gonna be a little up there.
And we're fortunate in Newmarket, we've had some redevelopment and stuff that's been very, very, very nice. So the architect generally done a very good job. And, does anybody have anything else? Is there anything we need to add? You guys got any other concerns? If you, motion would be in order if you have one.
How is the access? Is it all through the elevator, or is there gonna be exterior access?
The elevator serves the second floor. As a matter of fact, I can show you. The elevator comes up here. It'll serve this unit and this unit. This one over here in the corner will be served just by the stairwell. It's only 3 units. Units are actually technically, they don't have to be accessible. Federal Housing Act requires 4 or more units accessible, but we do have access via the elevator to 2 of the units.
I'm just curious.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion.
Please.
All right. Move to grant a variance request from EPW LLC petitioning the Zoning Board of Adjustment for relief from Section 32-89 Dimensions Table of the Municipal Code of the Town of Newmarket, New Hampshire, to permit 3 additional residential units on real property with an address of 60 Exeter Road, Building 100, Tax Map U4, Lot 11-3, within the M2A zoning district, as the petition satisfies a 5-part test of the variance statute pursuant to RSA 674-33.
Second.
Okay. Any other comments? Anybody we're good with that? We ready
Yeah.
to vote? Should we have a finding of fact on this presentation? We do a roll call vote. James?
Cut and dry, aye.
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 Aye. You have your variance.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, Josh and Dr. No, if you want, after the meeting, to give me about 10 minutes, I can have the notice of decision
Okay,
ready for you.
great. Thank you.
Just because we're closed tomorrow, and then I'm in training on Wednesday, so.
Oh, that's great. Thanks so much. Yeah, great.
Are you moving your practice over here?
So we are moving part of the practice over here. We're expanding because rent's going up where we're at in Newington. And the landlord's being a little challenging with costs, so we are going to be moving the practice up.
That'll make my wife happy. She doesn't like going to Newington.
Thank you for the education.
Yeah, I know, thank you.
I really,
I appreciate you
You're
guys.
very, very, very,
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to see you guys.
Good to see you too. We'll see
See
you in
you next-
October.
See you next.
Hopefully not,
I have
right?
to call you when you're back on Thursday, just to touch base. and see.
Yep.
Thank you.
Sounds good.
Anybody else have anything?
Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Congratulations,
Thank
yeah,
you to the board. Thank you.
absolutely.
Okay, do we have any old business to bring? New business?
Move to adjourn?
Move to adjourn is in order. All those in favor?
Wait, we didn't second. Who's gonna
I
second?
seconded it.
You say, okay, okay.
Get that through. All those in
Aye.
favor? Aye.
Aye.
Gets, almost gets steamrollered on that. Oh, that'd be good.
that one is just
That was easy.
a sweet one to me. I just, when I went